I'm the upcoming collector for independentcollectors.com, and these are my first 6 months of collecting contemporary art. I started with 0 artworks, 0 experience, and a 0 budget. And this is how I set out on the first art fair that I attended, which was Art Basel in June 2008. This was the first artwork that I got emotionally entangled with. It's by Christian Andersen, who had painted the novel 1984 onto transparent slides. Unfortunately, the price of 8,000 euros was very much, too much for me. The next artwork that I looked at that I really liked was something that I could afford. It looked something like this. It is by Lasse Schmidt-Hansen, who had taken a photograph by Thomas Ruff, who did those star photographs, which are very expensive. He had printed it out from the internet, cut out all the little stars. Now he puts them onto a photocopier and photocopies it with the lid open, resulting in a black A3 sheet with new star systems. I bought 2 of those for about 500 euros. And it is an edition, and as the title suggests, the edition is endless. This is the title of the artwork, X Towards Infinity, and I bought number 11 and number 13. Another endless edition that I bought next looks something like this. It is by Jonathan Wonk. It is called The Endless Search for Perfection. For 30 euros you get a coat hanger that he tries to bend into a round shape as good as he can. The next artwork that I bought, or that I wanted to buy, looked something like the Lasse Schmidt-Hansen, but it was already taken by another collector. So I looked at other works by Rudolf Reiber, and here's what it looks like. It's a canvas, it's a piece of paper, and on which he had painted with ink the night sky as he could see it from his apartment, and resulting in an approximation of what is actually up there. And he did it not only once, but a couple of times. And I was so impressed by this artwork, and I love it so much that I've actually bought it, and it's right here on the walls. The title of the artwork is 48,085. That's the number of stars that Rudolf Reiber has painted, and he has counted them all afterwards. This is the next artwork that I bought. It's by Karen Sander. It's a patina painting. This is roughly the original size. It's 180 euros. The idea is that the collector transforms or puts the canvas, the blank canvas, into an environment that he chooses for as long as he chooses. And I decided to take mine to Burning Man and carry it around there for a week. And now it looks roughly like this. You can see that you can't see anything, which is what happens when you look at the artwork in my flat. You really need to get up close, and you need to get the story behind it to be able to see anything at all. Now, before I show you the next slide, this is something, a very ironic piece that I had to laugh about so much. It's an edition, it's a print by Frank Kozik, who's an American illustrator, and this guy is on there. You might recognize him from the mustache. And it's not Charlie Chaplin. Now that doesn't leave us with many options. And it's a print, and it's really, really funny. And I had sent my wife to pick up the parcel from customs. And let me tell you, it's not very funny when you unroll the parcel like you have to do at German customs. And the first thing that the guy sees is this thing here. They tend to be a bit picky about this. So my wife was lucky that there was a certificate declaring it as piece of art. And actually, not my wife was lucky, but I was. This is another work by Frank Kozik that I have bought, which is a Smorken Labbit. It's a drawing on canvas entitled "I'm Only Here for the Beer," and I think it ties well in with my rather more serious collector's items. Now the next thing looks like this. Another thing where you don't see very much, and in reality you would see even less, because this is just an approximation. This is The End Point of Time Machine by H.G. Wells, a work by a Belgian artist called Chris Martin, who reads novels and then cuts out the last dot of the last sentence, puts it on a piece of paper, and sells it as artwork. He has also other great stuff which I can't afford. Now, speaking of dots and money, Here's a little graph that I have prepared. The blue line, which is now black and white. The dark line is the amount of dots on any given artwork that I own, and the red number is the amount of euros I paid for each dot. In the beginning it was 5.75 at the Lasse Schmidt Hansens, then it went down to 10 cents per dot for Rudolf Reiber, and then it goes up to 1,900 euros for the dot by Chris Martin. Speaking of Chris Martin and dots, here's another artwork by him, which looks like this, and it is a cross and it has Jesus on it and a series of fridge magnets, and it's called 13 Idiots. Another series of dots is this artwork, which should be like this, and it has 5 dots molded onto the right top hand corner, and it's called 5 Assholes. This little guy here is something I did for to get an line of argumentation when speaking with friends and family. Had I not decided to collect contemporary art, what else could I have done? I could have decided to learn how to scuba dive, and if you compare scuba diving with art, then you see that art is just a fraction more expensive than scuba diving on the left right here, and the danger of drowning in contemporary art is much lower than in scuba diving, and sharks in contemporary art usually come pickled. In the end, if you take the figures down to the very extreme, I will, at the end of January 2009, I will have spent 2 cents per minute on contemporary art, and that is a pretty competitive figure with your mobile phone suppliers. However, had I more budget, had I only a fraction of the budget available to the millionaires running around at the art fairs, they are there. There's other people as well, but there's also the millionaires. If I could just like pickpocket one of their rings and sell it, I could possibly buy everything that I like at any given art fair. Which brings me to the currency that is valid for collecting contemporary art. It's the time combined with money. You will find that if you start collecting contemporary art, that you spend, of both of them, you spend more than you have, no matter how much you set off with. If you start collecting contemporary art, you will be welcomed into the scene very openly. All the collectors will like you collecting, all the gallery owners will like you collecting. And this is a very, very encouraging start that I got. However, speaking to friends, telling them how much I spend on what I spend the money, gives you blank stares. But that's only understandable from people who think that the PS1 is the predecessor of the PSP. Now, as for family, the reaction is completely different unless you have a really, really cool family. No, I take that back. Unless you have a very, very art-oriented family, because my family is totally cool and they still look at me like this when I tell them what I spent my money on. But I have to say, I have no interest in scuba diving, so I will just continue collecting contemporary art. Now, what I have been missing in contemporary art in my first 6 months of collecting, and I think this is partly a mistake of my own, because I was looking in the wrong places. I'm looking for more rock, and I'm intending to find it in 2009. And this is my speech over, and I'm gone.